CEO and President of ActBlue, Regina Wallace-Jones.
Well, good morning. It is absolutely fantastic to be here at Netroots, where I hope your coffee was strong, but only as strong as your ideas. Now, if you've been following the headlines, you know that we've gotten a little press at ActBlue. And some of that press is creative, and some of that press is interesting. But at the end of the day, when you're doing good work, you do expect to be in the conversation, and that's exactly where we are. Woo! At our core, ActBlue is a platform built on trust, transparency, and the belief that when you give people the tools to connect with their causes and their candidates, that they'll surprise you with what they accomplish. That's why today, I'm thrilled to share with you the launch of Raise by ActBlue. Raise was built for the next chapter of online fundraising. It's fast, it's mobile, it's friendly, and it's inexpensive. Whether you're a grassroots group or a national nonprofit, Raise puts powerful technology into your hands without the need for a tech team the size of NASA. So yes, I am your opening commercial. We've heard the noise, we've seen the tweets, and we've even considered selling ActBlue branded earplugs. But here's the truth. We're not slowing down. We're innovating. We're listening. And most importantly, we're building tools that make it easier for people to take action on the issues that they care about. So do me one favor. As your commercial leaves the stage, take this QR code, join us at our booth, and let's start raising down ballot for our candidates and our causes. Thank you.
It's an honor to be back with Netroots Nation for the 20th annual conference, even if it is virtually. Netroots has always been a home for those of us fighting to unrig our economy. I remember more than a decade ago standing with you to launch the fight for a little agency to protect people from getting cheated on credit cards and mortgages and Venmo and payday loans, you name it. And we were told two things. It's a great idea, and we would never win. The big banks would hate it, and that meant, for sure, we would lose. Well, the big banks hated it. They spent millions of dollars trying to stop us, but we fought back, and we won. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has returned more than $21 billion to more than 205 million Americans who were cheated by big banks and giant corporations all across this country. And that is why it is so popular. But doing a good job doesn't get it all done. The fight is not over. From day one, Republicans have tried to kill the CFPB. Donald Trump and Republicans tried to zero out the agency's budget in their big ugly bill. We fought back and we won. They had to retreat, and instead they slashed the CFPB's modest funding cap almost in half. They wounded the agency, but they have not killed it. The big ugly bill also tried to gut other regulators created after the Enron scandal and the 2008 financial crash that helped us keep our financial system safe. But the Republicans failed. Look, these attacks are reckless. They put working families and the entire financial system at risk, all so that Donald Trump can hand out more money and more favors to his billionaire buddies. But we've seen this playbook before, and we know how to fight back. It was our organizing that made the CFPB possible in the first place. And that is why it is more important than ever to stay in this fight. So please, let's keep organizing, let's keep pushing, let's show Trump and his billionaire buddies we're not going anywhere.
Representing the 91st District of Louisiana, please welcome State Representative Mandie Landry.
Good morning, everyone. I am Mandie Landry in my second term in the Louisiana House. You are almost in my district, just a few blocks over there. You would be in my district. I am a rare breed in a red state. I am very proudly and loudly progressive. As a lawyer, I represented an abortion clinic. Mine are seeking judicial bypass. I've passed gun safety bills, all the things that they say we can't do here. We do a little bit. We do a little bit of it. But what I'm here to talk about and what the theme is what can we do about what's going on in the country? And what I have to say is everything that's been happening, your abortion rights, your civil rights, your constitutional rights, criminal issues, all of that was lost in state houses. And you are not going to get them back with a lawsuit or a meme or emails or a governor of a purple state. You've got to come back to state houses and build those bases. It is not pretty. It is not sexy. It's not even flipping red to blue. You're going to have to work to help some nice Republicans. We got some groups down here, I will not name them, that in some races they very quietly try to help the less harmful Republican. Because what I do here every day for 5 years is triage. It's not even harm reduction, harm is happening. We have to triage what's happening, and we don't have enough people. The other guys, 4 decades now they've been doing this, especially with abortion. We were ground zero for that. Our Speaker of the House of the United States of America is from Louisiana. He represents an extremely impoverished area. And back when he first started in politics and as a lawyer, he was one of the people who started pushing the most gross anti-abortion legislation, and now look what's happened in the country. If y'all saw a couple years ago, the abortion pill is now classified, is now a classified drug here. You're about to see it in your state. Everything that's happened bad in this country, in particular women's rights, started in a red state house. And it's not sexy to come here and do that because you're not going to see a win right away. You might not even see it for a few years. You have to go to Bastrop and Monroe and Natchitoches. I would say Google Natchitoches, but you've never heard of it and you probably can't spell it. And that's everywhere in the South. You can't send them an email offering to do social media outreach. You're talking to people who might have a Facebook page. But that's the point, is there's so much room for growth in states like mine and Alabama and Mississippi. You can only go up, and it doesn't take as much. If I told you how little money is spent on some of these races, you would think I was lying. You can do that here, but it's going to take probably a decade or so because it took them decades to get here. So I want you to think about doing that. I also want you to think about carefully, and this is my personal peeve, when I see or hear someone who tries to write off the South or dismiss it, those people get what they deserve. That is racist. It's so racist. It is classist. And it forgets that the people who live here, a lot of the people who live here, are basically being held hostage by a handful of rich people who don't even live here. And that's the truth of it. And to blame it on the people who live here, the 1/3 of the population that is black, the half of the population that is poor, so poor that when a baby is born in this state, 2/3 of babies born in this state are born to a mother on Medicaid. That's what it's like here. So I want you to push back on that when you hear it, and I want you to think about your organization. What are you doing? Are you just coming to a conference? Are you sending out memes? Are you raising money off the backs of dead women in the South? Do not give money to Planned Parenthood. I'm saying that publicly. Do not give money to them. You give money to the organizations down here to lift Louisiana, for example. You find the organizations in the South, not just the South, in poor states, who are actually doing the work here, who show up to the Capitol with me every day and say, here's some research, because you only have one staffer, Mandie, and I know you did not have time to look at the 100 bills you're working on today. So here's what we can do to help you. and they do. And you have to also recognize that a win here is not a win like you see on the news. It's not a flip. A win is my good friend Michelle, who works with me up there every day. I don't even know what the bill was, but we got some no's against it, and she said, this is the most amount of no's we've had against an abortion bill. And it was like 14 out of 105. And that was a win, because we're, inching one by one. So that's what I want to tell y'all. You are welcome here in Louisiana. We need you down here. You guys have skills and creativity out the wazoo that we just don't have as much of. My state is poor. My state, we don't have broadband everywhere. We're lacking a lot of basic necessities and state functions that you guys can't quite understand. So we welcome you down here. I'm happy to be the person for you to get in touch with. And please remember, if you want things to change in this country, a lawsuit is not going to do it. You have to change your state houses and do exactly what they did. Thank you, and welcome to New Orleans.
As this administration continues its onslaught against workers, progressive labor leaders, like the ones you'll hear from today, are on the front lines of this fight. First, please welcome the President of the American Federation of Government Employees, Everett Kelley.
Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Good morning to my family in this fight. My name is Everett Kelley. I am the proud president of the American Federation of Government Employees, representing 820,000 federal and DC government employees across the country. In the first half of 2025, these public servants have been under relentless attack. Just this week, this regime launched another unprecedented assault. VA Secretary Doug Collins decided, against the guidance of Trump's own government and contrary to what they told the U.S. Court of Appeal they were going to do, to unilaterally take away the union rights of 400,000 Americans who work at the VA in an act of retaliation and union busting. And today, just as I was preparing to come in this room, we got word that Lee Zeldin at the EPA is planning to do the same. Now, we know what these suckers are up to, right? Now, I said suckers. You can say whatever you want to do that sound like that. Now, this is a critical moment for AFGE and for all of us in this progressive movement. It is a moment that will require bold leadership, a reimagining, if you will, of what's possible. And I want to talk to you today about what AFGE members' visions look like for the future of our union, our movement, and our government, and what we need from the folk in this room. So what we're facing today is a government hijack to serve the interests of a powerful, wealthy, well-connected few. Across federal agencies, thousands of AFGE members are being targeted for layoffs, mass rifts that are gutting the workforce, tanking our economy, and jeopardizing public services. Just yesterday, Reuters report on outside dark money groups who are creating lists of rank and file civil servants, folk who work in DEI or support immigrants' rights, and coordinating with the White House to target them. Now, folk, they want to purge the government of those who won't toe the MAGA line, stack agencies with hundreds of thousands of loyalists, and create a government of, by, and for the wealthy, privileged few. Now, AFGE has been proud to stand against the attacks on the integrity of our government. Our members take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And I don't know about you, but we won't stand by and watch our government be corrupt. What about you? But now, brothers and sisters, this comes with its own set of risks. This regime is attacking political rivals, old and new, universities and students, law firms, judges, immigrants, nonprofits, and, of course, the labor movement and my union, AFGE. They're coming after AFGE's finances and the very legal foundation of our union rights. They're trying to rip up our union contracts, take away our members' union membership without their consent, defund the union entirely, and use every legal trick in the book to attack us. But we ain't going nowhere. This goal is clear. Silence experts, silence advocates, and workers, weaken democratic guardrails and loot the government for their own profit through privatization. It's clear. The big picture here is that they want power, and they don't want the people to have the power. But they misunderstand that the power is in the people. Now, I grew up in Alabama, and I remember Jim Crow. I lived through it. I remember what it was like when these folk had power, how they built it through fear and violence and intimidation, how they maintained it through a patchwork of laws and policies that made legal what was plainly immoral, and how viciously they opposed any challenge, no matter how minor. The resurgence of this movement in America is a crisis both political and cultural. And what we do now in this moment will define our future. Will we backslide into the dark shadows of our past, or will we just rise to the challenge? At FGE, we intend, put a pin in this, to win the future. And that's why we are reimagining everything we do as a union. We're working with our partners like Democracy Defenders, Democracy Forward, the AFL-CIO, and other unions and advocates groups using every legal tool to challenge the regime's unlawful action. Now, we're also helping individual workers defend their rights, partnering with allied unions and nonprofits. The AFL-CIO set up the Rise Up Federal Workers Legal Defense Network, which connects at-risk employees with pro bono lawyers. We're prepared to fight in the courts as long as it takes. We will not give up, but we are realistic also. We know the courts are at best an imperfect friend to the law and our democracy. We get the law in the courts and justice in the streets. I'm gonna say that one more time. We get the law in the courts and justice in the streets. So we know we must win hearts and minds in this fight. To that end, AFGE is engaged in a broad media outreach campaign to tell the real stories of federal employees and the community that rely on them. 85% of the federal employees live outside of D.C. and the metro area. They are at airports and office complexes, the hospitals and national parks, Social Security offices, and research centers, all across America working for you. But so often their work is invisible, and we have to change that. This moment is an incredible challenge, but it's also an educational opportunity like never before. And by sharing these firsthand accounts, we explain what it means when a rural Social Security office closes or an EPA scientist is muzzled for speaking the truth. When this regime attacks these workers, they are attacking the safety and the well-being of everyone in this room. And AFGE, my brothers and sisters, is going to stand against it. And I just want to know if you will stand with us. Will you stand with us? Can I count on you? Okay, so they're trying to rip up our union contracts, take away our union membership. That's what they're trying to do, but we're not going to stand for it. You know, as I said, I lived through the Jim Crow era, and I'm not going back. We're not going back. We intend to win this future. That's why we're working with these allies. You know, we're prepared to fight everywhere. We are realistic, you know, and so therefore, we know we must win. We know we have to win because AFGE is engaged in broad media outreach, as I said, and, you know, we have to make sure that the word get out, you know. So this moment is incredible. By sharing firsthand, we're going to change hearts. We want to change hearts. We need to change hearts because AFGE fight is your fight. I'm going to say it one more time. AFGE's fight is your fight. And I want to thank the folk who have already stood up for us in this fight. And some of those are you. And I want to pause parenthetically and just give you a round of applause. Can we do that? Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have partners like Randy Weingarten at AFT, April Verrett at SEIU, Liz Schuler at the AFL-CIO, the good people at the Strategic Organizing Center, Mark Fleischman and his team at the Labor Force. AFGE members are not in this battle alone. We are with you, brothers and sisters. Over the past month, our members have shown up by the thousands at rallies, town halls, protests from D.C. to California. Our local unions have hosted hundreds of local events with veterans groups across the country that turned up heat to the Trump regime and forced them to abandon the plan to cut 83,000 jobs at the VA. And this little embarrassment is why VA Secretary Doug Collins is so eager to get rid of AFGE. But let me hear you say it, we ain't going nowhere. Our Social Security Workers United campaign is working with partners like Social Security Works and the Strategic Outreach Organizing Center to host events on a National Day of Action on August the 14th with dozens of events planned all across this country to recognize the birthday of Social Security. Just a few days ago, nearly 150 career scientists at the National Science Foundation, AFGE Local 3403, took the bold step of whistleblowing to Congress about political interference in science. In the coming weeks, you can be sure that we will be working together with the folk in this room and the communities across the country to raise our voice about the threats faced by the VA. That kind of courage is contagious and is driving our evolution as a union. This year we have undertaken an enormous organizing project, transitioning over 150,000 AFGE members to a new union-run online dues system. That is amazing, brothers and sisters. We're expanding our efforts, and we need you. We're waiting for that. We're preparing for that. We're organizing for that, and we're not stopping there. We're embracing a distributed organizing model that will train and empower local leaders nationwide to take action in their communities. And I want to know today, are you with us? Because our power don't come from any billionaire or politician, it comes from our society. So AFGE will be there on the streets, and we need you there too. Because we aren't just fighting for pay and benefits for our members, we're fighting for clean air. We're fighting for quality schools. We're fighting for safe food to eat, scientific progress, help for our veterans, the Social Security for the next generation. This fight is your fight. It's all of our fight. But AFGE is at the tip of the spear. We're not resisting, we're building, brothers and sisters. Every legal challenge, every organizing drive, every rally is a part of a broader plan to build power through 2026 and 2028. We're going to get there by relentless organizing, by identifying leaders and activists, ranking file members, by hosting thousands of distributed events across the country. Because in 2026 and 2028, it will take not just political will to rebuild, it will take organized, mobilized groups of dedicated Americans willing to do the work. Are you willing to do the work? We have to start building that group today. Now, I won't lie. This is a hard road. There's no shortcuts. Authoritarianism never gives up power willingly. The billionaires will keep flooding the system with propaganda and cash. But I believe in people. Do you believe in people? I believe in the power of we. I believe in the federal workforce who keeps showing up on the job every day despite the chaos. I believe in the federal workers who gather every Tuesday at the Congressional Office building to lobby and tell their stories. Will you stand with AFGE? Will you stand with working people? If you're with us right now, I want you to take your phone out. This is a call to action. Take your phone out and tell your member of Congress that this legislation in the House right now, with enough votes from members on both parties, it will pass. That will stop the Trump's anti-union busting in the federal government. Tell Speaker Johnson that he won't bring it to the floor, but this will force him to the floor. Scan the QR code on the screen. Do that for me now. Take 2 minutes out of your time today and call Congress. Sign the petition, the discharge petition. Help us write the next chapter of American democracy. Can you do that? Help us send the clear message that we cannot fire your way out of accountability. We cannot privatize the truth. You cannot kill a movement built on solidarity. You didn't choose this fight. We didn't choose this fight. I didn't choose this fight, but we arise to meet the fight. Will you help? Will you help? We didn't ask for this battle, but we will win this battle, not with fear, but with faith. Not with isolation, but with solidarity. Because when we stand together, when we speak with one voice, when we move as one, can't nobody stop the power of we. Say we. Say we. We have the power. Are you with us? We have the power. Every working person across this nation, if you're with us, say it right now. We have the power. Say it right now. Yes, we can. We can win. We will win. Are you with us? Stand with us today. Stand with us and declare, I am with you. Declare, we are family. We will work together. We will fight together. And we work together. We fight together. We win together. Thank you. I love you. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from two Service Employees International Union leaders who are boldly working to protect the rights and dignity of hardworking people. First, please welcome the president of SEIU-United Service Workers West, David Huerta.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. That's a tough act to follow. Look, I want to do this first, and I think it's important because, you know, I'm introducing myself, and I think, you know, people saw what happened on June 6th. I've said then, I say it now, this is not about me. It's about the vulnerable people in our community that we're defending and what we're fighting against and what we have to fight for. But I also think being who I am is important to introduce myself. I'm a second-generation Chicano. I was born, thank you, I was born in East Los Angeles, raised in Southeast LA. My family came from Mexico 2 generations ago. And I say this very, you know, proudly. You know, my uncles, my cousins, my brothers, you know, they served World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. I say this not as I say this because that is his ultimate sacrifice that they did as combat veterans. And I say this because as a second-generation Chicano and what I represent and what we represent right now in the fight of Los Angeles is that we're fighting because we have earned our space in this country. And for me, it's very important to say that because my father, he was a Teamster. He loaded and loaded trucks for his 2 boys as a single father to be able to provide us the needs, what we needed in order to continue on and move forward. But one thing he taught me that was very important is this dignity. Work is dignity. Work is our power. Work is what we see and what we create and what we do. And he taught me that. And it's those life lessons that all work is dignity is really what brings me to this career that I've had now for 29 years and the privilege and the honor to be able to represent some of the most courageous workers in Justice for Janitors and Stand for Security and Airport Workers United. And I say this because the reality is the fight that we have in this moment in time is the fact that we are fighting a system that has benefited from the oppression, from the exploitation of working people. Whether you came here 400 years ago in chains or you crossed a border, this system has benefited based on the exploitation of working people. And it's now time for us to fight back, right? We cannot allow them to criminalize working people. when they are doing what they're doing in Los Angeles, and trust that what they're doing in Los Angeles is going to go across this country, because what they know is cruelty, right? What they're doing is they are criminalizing people because they have the audacity to work and provide for their families, right? You know, we went to Delano one day, and we showed up there, and I'm not sure if you all saw it, but, you know, there was a Univision town hall, and there was a campesino, a farm worker, who spoke at that time, candidate Trump, and he said, you know, con estas manos, yo te corto el brócoli, yo te corto las fresas que te pongo en la mesa. Y si nos vas a deportar a todos, ¿quién te va a poner su comida en su mesa y cuánto vas a pagar por esa comida? Right? And we have to realize is that there is power in our hands. These hands represent power. And what they are doing now, and what we're going to see as of October 1st, because October 1st is the day that they're going to make the greatest transition of wealth in this country we've ever seen. They're going to dismantle our healthcare system. They're going to dismantle the food programs for the hungry and the poor. They're going to dismantle our public school education by denying funding for the disabled and the autistic. And they're going to transfer all this wealth so billionaires can become trillionaires. And we, brothers and sisters, we have to now take a stand. That stand that we took on June 6th, we have to take it collectively. All of us have to stand against oppression. All of us have to stand against authoritarianism. And we have to realize, because it's going to take hard work, it's going to take organizing, it's going to take us to be able to build our power across difference, so that all people can come into the center. And all people can come into the center to create something different, something better. Because if what we're doing is to go back and try to rebuild what was in the past, well, let me tell you, what was in the past was not good enough. And what we have to do is resist in this moment, and through that resistance, build power. And when we build that power, engage that power, so when we do start rebuilding, we rebuild something that's better than what we had. Working people is what makes this economy. This economy cannot function without us. This economy cannot function with the farm workers. It cannot function with without the janitors. It cannot function without long-term care workers. It cannot function with the people who service us each and every day and who make the billionaires the trillionaires they are. So I know, and I've seen in my 29 years as being an organizer, I've seen what working people can do when they come together, right? I've had that privilege and I have that honor of being able to lead Justice for Janitors, and what they've been able to accomplish, what they've been able to do, right? What they have been able to do is build a union that stands in the face of power and demands every day respect and dignity and justice. And those are immigrant workers who achieved that. Those are immigrant workers that fled civil war. Those are immigrant workers that fled the violence of poverty. Those are the workers that came to this country to say that it's not enough to just build a better life, but it's something that to work towards. And I think collectively, I feel that this moment that we're in right now, speaks for us to come together. It speaks for us to be able to resist. It speaks to us to say that we have to stand our ground, and while we stand our ground, to embrace those around us. I tell my members, let's not ever make the same mistake we did in 2024. Let's not decide how we vote based on the price of an egg, but let's decide how we vote for the security of our family and our community. Let's make a demand for something better. Let's demand health care for all. Let's demand a secure retirement for working people. Let's demand that all people have access to a union. And let's demand once and for all that immigrants have a right to be in this country and that we have a pathway to citizenship for all people. I stand, and I will not be silenced. I will not be quiet, and I will resist. And that means that we have to form the organization in our community, in our families, with our neighbors. We have to create the disruption. As a labor organizer, I'm committed to creating disruption. And if it's necessary, I'm ready to stop the means of economy. I'm ready to call for a strike. Let's do this. As an organizer, I say disrupt. As an organizer, I say disrupt. As an organizer, I say let's not cooperate. As an organizer, I say let's band together, let's move together, let's fight together, and let's win this together. Thank you very much.
Now give it up for the president of the SEIU, April Verrett.
Well, all right. Y'all are cute or whatever. Good afternoon, Netroots. Can we give it up one more time for mi hermano, David Huerta? It is a real pleasure to be with all of you all today in one of my absolute favorite cities, New Orleans. And being able to look around this room to know and to see what possibility looks like. Brilliant minds, passionate hearts, fierce organizers, people who get up every single day, ready to fight for justice and to build something better. That gives me immense joy. That gives me hope. Because no matter how dark the headlines, no matter how tough the terrain, y'all, we are still here. David Huerta is still here. Millions of immigrants and working people in this country fighting for a better life are still here, and we are still showing up. We are still standing shoulder to shoulder, still believing that a better world is possible, a better world that we can and will build together. Earlier this year, I was in Selma, Alabama, celebrating the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. It wasn't the first time that I had a chance to stand on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, but as I'm sure you can imagine, this year held special significance. I felt the wind of our ancestors who once marched. I stood on the ground that holds echoes of history. And as I stood there, my feet planted, the wind in my face, I felt a deep, unshakable truth come over me. On that very bridge, the same forces that tried to stop foot soldiers like John Lewis and Amelia Boynton, the same forces that conspired in the hearts of politicians and behind the same shields of police, the same forces that cracked skulls, that blocked ballots, and tried to silence a generation. Y'all, they are the same damn forces we are fighting today. You know them, I know them. They are white supremacy. It is systemic oppression. It is political violence. They met John Lewis and Amelia Boynton with batons and tear gas. Today, y'all, today they meet us with billionaires rigging the rules. It's the same old tired playbook. But on that bridge, I didn't just feel the pain of history. I felt the power of our lineage. Because our ancestors who walked that bridge, they did not just resist. They manifested radical imagination. They built movements out of nothing. They turned they turned fear into courage. They turned despair into action. They walked that bridge with hope in their hearts and vision in their minds, and they moved the nation forward. Netroots. You may not have known that, but now I'm gonna tell you that is why we are here. Because if they could imagine a better world in the face of hoses and dogs, surely we can imagine one in the face of voter suppression, union busting, and creeping authoritarianism. But if we are gonna do that, if we're going to imagine systems and break away from the status quo built for a privileged few, we have to start by being honest with each other. So can we practice a little radical honesty with each other? Honest about the systems that are broken, an economy that rewards exploitation over dignity, a healthcare system that treats survival like a luxury, a democracy that answers to donors more than it does to everyday people. But also, I'm not gonna let y'all get away with not being honest about the roles we play. How we've let perfection become the enemy of progress. How we stay safe in our silos instead of building together. How sometimes we settle for commentary when what we need is construction. Netroots, when I look around this room, I see your brilliance, I see your fire, but I also see a movement that is too often stuck in the comfort of critique than in the discomfort of creation. We've got the best panels, we got the best think pieces, we got the best hashtags. We do, we absolutely do. Hey, Oma. But while we are drafting statements, the other side is drafting legislation. They're seizing our school boards. And while we're talking about Robert's rules, like they are stacking the courts, they are waging a full-scale campaign to make white nationalism governing policy. Oh, it's a whole California table. I see y'all. So while we are debating language, they are taking power. And don't get me wrong, I love a good policy debate. And language absolutely matters. But here's what I know after traveling this country. Y'all people, my people are tired. They are not doom scrolling Twitter. They are working 2 jobs. They are skipping meds to buy groceries. They are wondering how they are gonna pay the rent because it's too damn high. While we are perfecting our talking points, authoritarianism is gaining ground. Now, I did not come here to call anyone out. I came with the hope in my heart that we can all get called deeper in together. Because I do believe in us. I believe we can rise to this moment together. I believe we can organize better than we can lie. Than they can lie. We lie too, but y'all, they lie like nobody's business. We lie to ourselves, like, ugh. So I believe we can organize better than they can lie. I believe we can and we will fight like hell and still love not just our people, but their people through, all the way through it. And here's why. My favorite part, because joy, oh joy, is a part of the strategy too. And not soft joy. I'm talking radical joy. I'm talking loud joy. I'm talking defiant joy. I'm talking the kind of joy that sounds like Cowboy Carter in your earbuds and Kendrick on full blast. I'm talking the kind of joy that looks like chair-teeth cookouts and moves like salsa in these here hips. I'm talking joy that says we are still here and we're not going anywhere. The kind of joy that fuels freedom songs. The kind of joy that keeps you marching when your feet hurt. The kind of joy that reminds us who we are and where we come from. Like the old saints used to say, this joy I have, the world didn't give it to me and the world cannot take it away. That joy that carried our ancestors, that joy that will carry us all the way to freedom. But without strategy, it's just theater. Analysis without organizing is performance. And I'm tired of watching y'all perform. We need both fire and focus. We need to know who we're fighting for and what we're building. Because if you can't name the boss, if you won't name the corporation, if you are afraid to name the policies and politicians exploiting our people, you're not organizing, you're observing. At SEIU, behind David Huerta's leadership, we are not just resisting what's broken, we are building what is next. We're organizing workers across sectors and industries and borders, fighting for contracts that don't just deliver wages, but housing and childcare and dignity. We're reimagining democracy in the workplace and beyond. We're building a world where every worker, Black, brown, undocumented, gig, care, retail, and everything in between has a union. Where $25 is the floor, not a dream. Where life expectancy is not determined by your zip code or your skin color. Because when we build worker power, when we build political power, and when working people rise, everybody else rises too. Now, I know some of y'all might be thinking, damn, that April, she's real preachy. This is not what I came to hear, but it's what you need to hear. Because this moment is not about comfort, it's about courage. And here's the good news. We got what it takes. We can build the world our ancestors dreamed of and our children deserve. We just have to change the rules. So I know my time is up. So let's get real quick to what's possible. If we move with both imagination and without fear, if we lead with clarity instead of defensiveness, we can expand union rights to every worker. We can bargain contracts that reshape entire sectors. We can build new forms of civic participation that reflect real people's lives. We can use tech to connect, not just to surveil. We can flood the zone with the truth because disinformation is poisoning our people. We can organize across race and gender and geography and class, because that is the strategy that it takes to win. We've done it before. A. Philip Randolph demanded dignity from the railroads and made a nation listen. Dorothy Bolden turned her front porch into her headquarters for domestic worker power. Bayard Rustin didn't just organize a march. He taught us how to build a movement and dared us to be angelic troublemakers. That's my lineage, and I believe it's yours. It is my inheritance, and I believe it's yours. It is our turn. So Netroots, I'll leave you with this. This moment in our movement is not just about resistance. It's about construction. It's about the world we can and must build together. It's about moving from critique to courage, from self-righteous commentary to intentional community. It's about building something that outlives any one crisis or candidate, because this fight is bigger than Donald Trump. It's bigger than April Verrett. It is about the conditions that made him possible and the courage that it will take to dismantle them. So I wanted to be here today because I believe in us. I believe we are powerful. So let's use our power, Netroots. Let's rewrite the rules. Let's stand on business. Let's stay in this thing until we win the world we all want and deserve. Let's go get it.
From the Lone Star State, please welcome former U.S. Representative Beto O'Rourke and journalist and founder of the political newsletter Off Message, Brian Beutler.
Go up.
Everybody. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm all right.
Okay.
So I want to start with something that I know is on your mind. I assume it's on the mind of a lot of people here. Sydney Sweeney. She was in an American Eagle ad about blue jeans. Any comment?
I'm not familiar with this, Sydney Sweeney, and what's going on. I wish that there were not so many pressing, urgent, critical issues that are going to determine the fate of this country right now so that we could focus on Sydney Sweeney or anything else that's irrelevant right now. But I think the reason we're all here is because we're in this fight and we're focused on what we have to do to make sure that we save this country at its moment of truth. So Sydney Sweeney after we save the country. For now, focused on America. Yeah.
A simple no comment would have sufficed, but no, okay, so the real reason we're here, I think, is to talk about a couple things. One is the Texas redistricting fight, the gerrymandering fight that's going on right now, and I want to use that to kind of put meat on the bones of what you've been talking about as you go around the country, talking about how Democrats need to be more ruthless. So just to start, as of yesterday, you yourself and your group Powered by People are in Ken Paxton's crosshairs now directly. Can you tell us a little bit about what he's doing to you or trying to do to you? He's like trying to rummage through your emails or something like that?
Yeah, so just to bring everyone up to speed, you know that Trump asked Greg Abbott, our governor, to give him 5 congressional seats in Texas. And thick as thieves, he and the Republican state legislature have been busy at work carving up the state. They were gonna vote on these 5 new districts on Monday, but thank God for the Texas Democrats. 54 of them left the state, broke quorum, said the hell with that, and defied Donald Trump and stopped this power grab in the state of Texas. And these motherfuckers are panicking right now, okay? So the reason that Greg Abbott is trying to vacate their seats, charge them with second-degree felonies, sending DPS state troopers to quote-unquote hunt them down. The reason John Cornyn has been working with Kash Patel to send the long arm of the FBI after them as well is because they get this. If they cannot steal these 5 seats, if they cannot hold on to power in the House of Representatives, there's gonna be a check on Donald Trump's lawlessness. There's gonna be accountability for his corruption and crimes, the cover-up of his complicity with Jeffrey Epstein and everything else that he is doing. And there's gonna be a real prospect of free and fair elections in 2028. So they're gonna do everything they can to stop us, not just from fighting back, but more importantly, from taking the fight to them. So yes, they're trying to put our group, Powered by People, which is the largest registrar of eligible Texans to vote in the state. It's an organization during the winter freeze in 2021 that made more than 1 million phone calls to elderly Texans to make sure that they were okay, that they had water, that we could get them to a warming center. We staffed the food banks all across Texas during the middle of COVID, and we're trying to help everyday Texans vote in a state that makes it harder than any other in the nation to cast a ballot. So you know why they're afraid, and you know why they're responding in this way. We've got to make sure that we are not afraid, and we take this fight to them, and we win it with whatever it takes.
So what is then, just from your perspective, for like your situation, what is the ruthless response to Ken Paxton coming after you? Aside from just saying, no, you can't have them.
Yeah.
What are your plans?
So they're trying to stop us from doing what we're doing, which is supporting these 54 Democrats and ensuring they have the resources to stay out there for as long as it takes. Greg Abbott can call one 30-day special session after another, after another, after another. They are betting that our side is gonna give in and give up, that we are the old Democratic Party that was more interested in concession and compromise, and even in some cases, older Democratic leaders, like maybe the minority leader in the Senate, bending the knee and submitting to these guys, rather than saying, the hell with that, we're gonna fight you tooth and nail, whatever it takes to make sure that we are ruthlessly focused on stopping your power grab and making sure that we win power ourselves. And then when we have power, as my friend Mandela Barnes in Wisconsin says, we drive that car like we stole it. We run the tables on these guys, every single issue that we care about. So we're not gonna let Ken Paxton frighten us, intimidate us. The country wants to see a fight. Everyone who's bent the knee, everyone who's conceded to Donald Trump, Tim Cook giving him the golden iPhone 2 days ago. I mean, enough of that stuff, right? We need to stand and fight. This is a moment of truth. If we fail right now in the breach, If we do not win power in 2026, the consolidation of authoritarian control in the hands of Donald Trump will be nearly unstoppable. That means more masked, plainclothes federal agents sweeping our fellow Americans off the streets, more of Trump's political opponents going to be targeted for vengeance and retribution and political violence, and it means a Republican majority Congress is going to roll out the red carpet for a Trump third term. So all of us must do all we can with what we have where we are. One idea for everyone, Brian, yourself included. Ken Paxton is trying to stop us from raising money to help these Texas Democrats stay out of the state and break quorum. If you text FIGHT to 20377, you'll get a link back that will allow you to donate $2, $10, $200, whatever you want to give. That would really piss Ken Paxton off. So if you want to get under their skin, if you want to show that we are fighting and taking the fight to them, please support these Texas Democrats.
So for the legislators who have left Texas and for the governors who are harboring them and helping them, what is the ruthless thing that they should do if and when actual federal agents come looking for them? How do you protect them from the power of the state like that?
You know, Brian, we got to remind ourselves that Democrats actually hold power in really significant places across the country. You know, God save J.B. Pritzker for hosting and harboring these Texas Democrats right now. I love the fight in Gavin Newsom, who says, you know what? What if we seize the initiative in California and redraw all of our congressional districts to maximum Democratic advantage? You know, Kathy Hochul is even talking tough right now. I feel like for far too long, present company excluded, of course, Democrats have cared more about being right than being in power. Republicans have cared more about being in power than anything else, and it really shows. We are in a basketball game right now, if you'll excuse the metaphor, where the refs have left the arena. And the other side is just clobbering the shit out of us, just punching us in the face, kicking us in the nuts, and we're kind of throwing our hands up and we're asking the crowd, the people of America, hey, do you see what's going on here? This is unfair. This isn't the rules that we agreed to play by. Well, who cares about the fucking rules right now? Punch back, kick back, dunk over their heads, and win some fucking power.
So here's something I read the other day, and it sounds similar to, I think, what you're saying. It said, Democrats, quote, should be prepared to use the threat of aggressive, opportunistic redistricting as a source of leverage to entice Republicans into supporting some kind of nonpartisan redistricting system nationwide. Either agree to mutual permanent disarmament and make one of the country's many undemocratic processes more democratic, or enjoy the wilderness. Does that sound like, am I getting you right? That's what you think the right approach is, or should it be even?
No, I think that's conceding too much. Listen, you know, when California, and I can't remember if it was 2008, 2010, ceded authority from the legislature and the governor to the citizen-led redistricting commissions. Look, I love the idea. It makes all the sense in the world, and while it was happening, I probably supported it at the time. Now, in hindsight, I realize that we unilaterally disarmed, while those folks in Texas and Indiana, in these other states, in Louisiana, are gerrymandering people out of their ability to change the outcomes of these elections. So not only do I not want to do that, I also don't want Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker and Kathy Hochul and any other Democrat who has unitary power in their state to wait for Texas to go first. I want us to seize the initiative. Instead of awaiting the punch thrown by these would-be fascists to hit us in the face and then respond, I want us to punch first, and I want us to punch harder. So I want them to redraw those districts right now, right now.
You know, it hurts my feelings a little that you disagreed with that quote because I wrote that.
Shit.
But I wrote it in 2014, and then in the last 10, 11 years, we went on to see something like what you described, more like unilateral disarmament rather than like meeting like in kind. And I want to hear what you have to say about like what is broken in the culture of the Democratic Party leadership that it takes a decade in this extinction level crisis for this kind of thinking to finally punch back to sink in with them.
Yeah. You know, I just think we got way too complacent. And we're kind of riding it out easy in the places where we were winning political power. And I was guilty of that too. I remember I worked so hard, as did many in this room, when Senator Barack Obama was running for president in 2008. I canvassed in Texas. We had a Texas two-step where we had a caucus and a primary. And I worked both of them in my precinct in Sunset Heights. I donated the maximum $20 at a time that I could give to a political campaign. And I remember the day that he was sworn in, the relief that I felt. We just don't have to do anything anymore. This guy is gonna save us. He's got it from here on out. Now, I realize that's when he needed us the most. And that's when so many of us, again, probably present company excluded, we're sitting back and waiting for Obama to save the country. What does that mean? It means that in states like ours, in Texas and in Louisiana, we kind of left the rural communities to fend for themselves. We didn't show up. And where we feared to tread, Republicans didn't have to contest the November election because there was not a Democrat on the ballot. Those folks effectively went unrepresented, unheard, and unfought for. We allowed this consultant industrial complex to factory press these, safe for public consumption messages that had been tested in these sterile control rooms that doesn't connect with anybody, doesn't resonate, reflects none of the passion or the urgency of the moment. And then look, we certainly defer to our elders, and I think there's a lot that's appropriate in that. But when Chuck Schumer is in the middle of the fight, not of his life, but our lives, and there is this power grab being led by Donald Trump and Elon Musk in the continuing resolution to fund the government earlier in the year, and instead of fighting with everything that we have, because everything is on the line, they gave up, they rolled over, they submitted. And so no more. We are not going to wait and be patient and hope and pray that people in these positions of power are going to do the right thing. We as Democrats, wherever we are around the country, even in and especially the rural communities and the so-called red states like Louisiana and Oklahoma and Indiana and Nebraska and Texas, we are going to take the fight to them, and we're going to shock the world when we pick up these congressional districts in the states that I just mentioned in 2026. People want to see the fight, and we got to fight.
Okay, I got another quote for you, but this one, you wrote this one.
Okay.
It's, if we stop the Texas deal and win the House, your guy, I think you're referring to Trump, you're speaking to Ken Paxton, right? Your guy's crimes and corruption will be exposed for all to see. The girls traded with Epstein, the bribes taken from foreign governments, and when he goes down, your corrupt, impeached, twice indicted ass is going down with him. So it sounds like you're scared. No, kidding. But let's talk about what you're alluding to, which is how House Democrats could use their power if they win the midterms next year, and what it means to be ruthless. So if we get to that point, and it's 2027, and Democrats have the House, and they have not released the Epstein files by then, they issue a subpoena, and Donald Trump says, "Fuck you." What's the recourse then? What do ruthless Democrats do at that point?
Absolutely. So look, this is why they are so panicked and running so scared right now. You and I, we've watched over the last 6 months them run completely afoul of the law, completely defy the Constitution, openly corrupt, taking these gifts from foreign governments, for example. The president and his family enriching themselves with these meme coins. Here's a place you can deposit an unlimited amount of money to influence the outcome of decisions that this country will make, or your access to the president, or the gifts that the people of the United States, through the power of that office, are going to be able to give to you. You have seen him collude with corrupt public officials like Eric Adams in New York City. We have watched the open display of a criminal network operating in the highest positions of power and public trust. They are scared because they have assumed that there will never be accountability. Remember, Donald Trump promised us he would be a dictator on day one. He promised us that if you vote in the 2024 elections, that's the last time you'll ever have to cast a ballot. It took Hitler just 53 days to destroy German democracy. At every major turn, every time he exceeded his authority, defied the German Constitution, broke down the rule of law in that country, the German press, the German politicians, the German public, most importantly, did too little, too late. So first things first, stop this power grab. Second, win political power in the House. And third, to Brian's question, use that ruthlessly. So that means we investigate everything that I just described. We bring the facts to light. And even if, should the president defy us, and should the courts, a co-equal branch of government, which might be our last recourse, but we cannot hold our breath because we have a Supreme Court that is now the best that money can buy in American history, it will have to be the people. It will have to be the people rising up. Abraham Lincoln, no lesser authority than that man. 1858, he says, look, you have the power of the presidency, the courts, the legislatures. But more powerful than all that is the power of the people. Public sentiment is what he called it. He said, with it, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. John Lewis, 24 years old, 1965, we just heard a reference to it a second ago. He alone, and those who joined him on that bridge, and the thousands more who took to the State House steps, wrote their members of Congress, lit up the switchboard at the White House, they were the ones who gave Lyndon Baines Johnson the power he needed to change our laws so that everyone, regardless of race or gender or country of national origin, could participate in our politics. In 2018, when we had family separation under the first Trump term, you and I rose up and said, hey, we are not down with taking a baby from the arms of her mother after they crossed 2,000 miles of this continent, seeking salvation and refuge in a country comprised of refugees and immigrants from the world over. We forced, through public sentiment, Donald Trump to rescind that zero-tolerance family separation order. It is perhaps the last best power we have for the last best hope of Earth, this country. So, if Democrats win that power, we'll lead the way, expose this corruption, this criminal enterprise being run in the White House. I think the American people will rise up and claim that power that is rightfully ours.
So you'll be leading the No Kings style march to Main Justice with a sign that says, show us the Epstein files.
This stuff is working. You know, you could argue that if there were a policy issue, and that is up for debate, but if there were a policy issue on which Donald Trump won in 2024, it was immigration. But after these warrantless sweeps, these illegal detentions and confinements and deportations of Americans, including US citizens, to countries that they have never been to, whose languages they do not speak, including to these gulags in El Salvador, out from which you are unlikely to ever come. We're talking life sentences. It turns out that this stuff is not popular with America. He's polling at 35% on immigration, below that for the economy as people begin to feel the impact of this disastrous course that he's set. And 90% of America who cannot agree that they like ice cream, 90% of America want us to see the full Epstein files because we know that Donald Trump is implicated in trading girls, potentially in what Epstein did as he trafficked, traded, and raped completely innocent girls. We demand justice for them, and our protests and our getting this out to our fellow Americans is starting to break through. We got to keep it up.
You've already mentioned Chuck Schumer maybe a couple times. He's going to have another bite at the apple. So Senate Democrats, they cut Trump a check back in March to avoid a government shutdown. And then Trump went on to impound a lot of that spending, and then Republicans unilaterally rescinded some of the other things that Democrats traded their votes for. So should they do the same thing next month? And if not, like, what should they demand in exchange for their votes?
Yeah. So look, here's the power in this room and the power in our communities back home after we leave this Netroots conference. I mentioned that LBJ was given the power by John Lewis and other marchers and freedom riders and activists and everyday Americans whose names we'll never know, whose songs we'll never be able to sing. But for them, he would not have had the power. I mean, he actually told Dr. King in 1964, I just don't have the power. That's a direct quote from LBJ, the most powerful man on the planet at the time. I just don't have the power to get this done. They forced him to use the power that he had. And so with Chuck Schumer, and look, I have no grudge against him personally, and I'm grateful for his service to this country, and I think he is a good man. But sometimes those in positions of public trust need to be reminded by the people that they purport to serve and represent of the power that they hold in trust on our behalf. So yes, pushing this guy, protesting, getting in his face, reminding him that there will be a consequence should he fail to use this power on our behalf. I think that is absolutely everything. Yeah.
Okay, but you sort of know how this goes. You served in the House. Is that a controversy looms on the horizon, and frontline members who are worried about their next election huddle with their strategists, and their strategists say the best thing for you is to avoid the controversy. So they go to the leadership and say, hey, can we not do this? And then the leadership jumps on the grenade for them. And so maybe we could close with you just ruminating a bit on how you would rebuild the party anew, or advise future leaders of the party, or how you yourself would bust up this dynamic that seems to repeat itself over and over and draw the party into its most risk-averse form.
I mean, I think, or I know, you all check me if I'm wrong, I mean, the battle lines have never been more clearly drawn in this country and around the world. And if our fellow Americans fail to see us clearly and strongly and defiantly and courageously choose a side on either one of those lines, they can be forgiven for not supporting us and allowing this would-be tyrant and future fascist to stay in power. And I'll give you an example. I was talking with Rua, who I had not met before until today, about the American government's complicity under Donald Trump and under Joseph Biden in the bombing and the starving and the slaughtering of innocent children in Gaza. And so if our party cannot say that out loud and cannot say that we want to use the awesome power of this country to establish an independent sovereign state for the Palestinian people, to work towards their safety, the safety of the Israelis, the safety of everyone there, then what the hell are we doing? We will not be given power by the people who will decide the outcomes of these next elections. And it is clear as day on that issue. It is as clear as day on these Medicaid cuts and the need to have universal health care for everyone. It is as clear as day on the massive transfer of wealth that is taking place before our eyes. Nearly $1 trillion moved from working Americans to the wealthiest 1% just under this big, beautiful bill. But you all are Netroots, and you know that this has been going on for a long time. Democratic, Republican presidents alike, about $50 trillion over the last 5 decades has moved from middle and lower income Americans to the very wealthiest. Where is our party on this issue right now? People are watching, and we cannot be found wanting.
Beto O'Rourke, everybody.
Thank you,
It was
sir.
a pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you all.
Now for our final speaker, representing California's 12th Congressional District, please welcome to the stage Congresswoman Lateefah Simon.
Well, this is a room. This is a room of good people. Hey, family. Come on, hey, family. Family. I am so honored to be in this place. I can't even tell you, my hands are shaking because this is a moment. We're gathered here today not to listen to speeches, but to resurrect what we know is the truth. I've been thinking a lot about time. I've been thinking a lot about this place, about Louisiana. My people are from Louisiana. My people are from Lake Charles, and they were cotton people and indigo people and rice people, and they labored with their full backs and their full bodies, and they prayed for a democracy that they never got to see. So I'm so happy to be home. Louisiana, thank you. In that thinking about time, I've been thinking a lot about Elder Grace Lee Boggs. You know what the sister said. What time is it on the clock of the world? And when we think about time, I know a lot of us are thinking about the young child at the Children's Hospital only 2 miles away, and she's dying. And those bastards refuse to support cancer research. I think about the child who has shrapnel in her back in Gaza. And she's dying, and she has not much time left, and we know damn well that we paid for that shrapnel that sits on her spine. What time is it that we know just seconds away from this convention center, there is a young sister who is in deep need of reproductive care. She needs an abortion, and she might die because these bastards don't see her as human. Well, I'll tell you what time it is, family. It's midnight. It's midnight. We are living in the midnight in the life of this republic. You know it to be true. It is the hour, and it is the moment, it is the second when rights vanish in daylight, the hour when memory is treated as dangerous and when history is rewritten to favor its victors, when the truth is not only ignored, it is made illegal. Midnight is not just darkness, family. Midnight is the moment. It is the moment before the turning. Do you hear me, Netroots? You hear me? It is the point at which the future is unwritten. But family, we have been here before, not with the same names and not with the same faces, but with the exact same pattern. After the Civil War came Reconstruction, and after Reconstruction came the noose and the poll tax. And after the victories of the civil rights movement, we know what happened. There came redlining and mass incarceration and the defunding of public life. We have been here. Every step forward has been met with a deliberate and clear effort to push us back in time. Now, they have taken away our protections and they have called them reform. They have stripped away our voting rights right in front of our eyes and they call it neutrality. They have banned books and they call it order. They erased our history and called it moving on. And yet each damn time, our people have found a way to keep building. We build. While we mourn and pray for our dead, we build. I came to you with a serious letter today. I was a teen mother. My daughter is 29. I put her through Howard Law School. I buried my husband. You cannot fight cancer on a budget. I buried him while my two babies wept as he died in our home. I've organized for 30 years, working in prisons and in jails and on the streets, loving young people, queer young people, trans young people who have been shut out by even the local church. We built an organization called the Young Women's Freedom Center because we knew that our light was our responsibility. So I come to you very clear about what time it is. So when public schools, and you know this, refuse to teach us, we built our own. When hospitals turned us away, we trained our healers and our doulas, our ministers, our faith keepers. When wages were too low for us to survive, we organized, we walked the hell out, and we striked. We knew that our labor was worth everything. And when the law offered us nothing, when it offered us nothing, we wrote our own laws and forced the nation to reckon with them. We fought. The memory is not nostalgia. The memory that I tell you, that I talk about today, it was strategy, and it reminds us that no matter how carefully, how strategically they design a tapestry of totalitarianism, how carefully they design those barriers of death, we always found and will find ways around them. Family, you know this to be true. We are told to accept false choices, even within our own spaces, to choose between war and peace as if peace is only the absence of conflict and not the presence of justice, to choose between safety and freedom as if the two cannot exist together, to choose between, sister, to choose between defense and care, as if defending this country means ignoring the people who live inside of it. What is peace if you have no home? And what is safety if the water that you drink is poison? And what is defense if it means defending only those who have enough? True safety, you know, it is a guarantee that every person can live with dignity, deep and profound dignity. I can't believe I'm here speaking to you all today. Years as an organizer, when I ran for Congress and won, one of the things that I promised myself was that I would not fall from the shenanigans of the Klan who sit in Congress. And I would tell the truth every single day the same way my grandmother told it to me. Not so much her words, but her words would have said that true defense is the protection of human life, of us. And if we are serious about building a democracy worth keeping, a real one, we must start where the country has always been reluctant to look, right? And I'm gonna name it. With the working class black and brown brothers, hey brothers, whose labor built this nation, but whose humanity has been denied in its politics. We see you, we feel you, and we love you. With the sisters who have held community together with quiet acts of leadership and loud acts, but that are very seldomly recognized as profound leadership, and with young people, the lioness, who have never experienced the justice that they chant, that they pray for, that have never seen a system that has loved them but judged them so profoundly, and yet still wake up and imagine a world, planning an action so that maybe they will be freer than the world that they were given. The youngsters in no way are at the margin of this work. We have work to do. They are the center. They are the architects. Where y'all at, young people? The architects. We're losing because we're not centering that powerful voice that has led every progressive social justice movement in this country. These youngsters are not visionaries of our work or beneficiaries of the vision. Remember, they are the authors. The forces against us are extremely well-funded. They have no shame in their goals, no hesitation in their tactics. They understand. And as a deep student, a profound student of history, we know this. They have no shame, no hesitation in their hate, in their hatred of you, of your grandmother's prayers, of the borders our people cross to survive. They have no love. They don't care about you. So no, we don't play by any rules when it is about our survival. They understand, they do very clearly understand that the fight is not about the next news cycle. And it's not about, they know, the next post. They know it is really about the next generation. Where do we show up? So our response must be surgical. It must be disciplined. We cannot afford movements that burn too hot, that fade too quickly. We cannot mistake moments for strategy. We know now, if you look at what they do, don't mimic it, because we speak truth in love. But we know that we must deeply fund our organizations, our movement centers, boast up and boost up our critical leaders, and not be afraid to be in a leader-full movement. Campaigns for the dignity of our people should have all that they need to move and win, and the communities that hold the line after the election and after the next election and after the next damn election should be stronger every week, every month, and every year. Midnight is not the end of our story. If we think about it, it's the moment when we decide whether we drift into a permanent darkness or we turn into morning. It's midnight. Imagine a country, because I want you to feel this. We are so into our fight. Dream of that space where care, your health care, your child's life, grandmother, her health care is not a privilege. It is a promise made to her at birth, when housing is not a market gamble, but a reality for all, not just those who seek it, all. We have to deeply, in our marrow, imagine, feel it, an education that tells the truth about our history, every damn day of it, and prepares our children with the ferocity to shape a better one, where budgets can actually measure the success, the heart of who we are, and not by the military contracts, but how many folks go to bed hungry, or how many folks go to bed fed, where the full dignity of Black life, of brown life, of queer life, of disabled life is not just up for debate, where we don't have conversations about throwing trans children under the bus, that we center them and we love them and we hold them dear, our babies. Imagine that country, and that country is not an illusion, where education is beautiful and our teachers are paid everything that they deserve, where our nurses have all that they need, where our builders don't have to think about a union because it's just what it is, that they are represented and they are loved, that our sick are cared for and prayed over. That country, friends, is not an illusion, and I will not give up on the democracy that the bricklayers who've laid this place, who never got to feel it, it's theirs, it's ours. That country is not an illusion, it is a choice that we must build. So people, we are the ones who will decide whether midnight becomes a breaking point or a turning point. It's a breaking point. Let's make that decision today. And that decision will not be made by the folks who have the billions or the largest microphones or megaphones. It will be made by those who are willing to go deep, to be the beautiful insurgency, those who want to organize the real way, the way that we were trained, knocking doors and standing on street corners and sitting in laundromats and being with pulpits and going to the masjid and going to the synagogue, going to the cemetery, praying with our elders. It will be made by those folks who see their vote now as critical resistance. It will be made by pushing folks like me who you voted into places of power to get it right. or fire them. And to keep going when the work is most hard. So here is what I leave you with. When the next generation, and they are in this room, and those who will come from them, when they ask what we did in this hour, we need to be able to say that we chose justice over comfort, that we chose memory over amnesia, that we chose to build something stronger than what we inherited, that we chose each other. Because it's midnight. Because it is midnight. But we do know the way towards morning. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. Head over to the town square where you'll find lunch provided by ActBlue. We'll see you back in this room for our evening keynote starting at 4:30.